Have you ever waited all year for fresh, juicy peaches only to watch the leaves turn red, bubble up, and fall off before summer even starts? It is one of the most frustrating things a gardener can experience. Today, we are talking about the ultimate peach tree treatment before blooming. I am going to promise you something amazing today. By the end of this video, you will know exactly how to guarantee a healthy, massive harvest with just one specific chore. But here is the crazy catch. The most important work you will do for your summer peaches actually happens when the tree looks completely dead and bare. That is right. The secret to perfect summer fruit is a late winter spray. It sounds backward, but it is the absolute truth. I am going to reveal a hidden secret about how diseases hide on your tree and why waiting until you see leaves means you have already failed. Have you ever lost a crop to ugly, distorted leaves? Let me know in the comments below, because you are definitely not alone. To truly understand why we have to treat peach trees this way, we need to look back at history. Peaches originally came from ancient China, where they were a symbol of immortality and long life. Over thousands of years, they traveled along the Silk Road to Persia, and eventually to gardens all over the world. But as these delicious fruits traveled, so did their microscopic enemies. The most notorious villain is a fungus known to scientists as Taphrina deformans. We simply call it peach leaf curl. For centuries, farmers watched their orchards become devastated by this strange disease that warped the leaves and destroyed the fruit. They did not understand what caused it. It was not until the late 19th century that agricultural scientists figured out the life cycle of this fungus. They discovered that the disease does not start in the summer. It actually hibernates during the winter right on the bark of the tree. This changes everything about how we care for these beautiful trees today. So let us dive into the biology of this invisible enemy. The spores of the peach leaf curl fungus are incredibly sneaky. They spend the entire winter hiding out in the tiny cracks and crevices of your tree bark. They also hide right under the little protective scales that cover the dormant buds. You cannot see them with the naked eye at all. Think of them like microscopic dust particles resting deep inside a thick rug. If you wait until the leaves actually sprout in the spring to take action, you have already lost the battle. There is a very common myth that you can just spray the red, bubbly leaves in the summer to cure the tree. This is completely false. Once the fungus enters the new green leaf, it is permanently trapped inside the plant tissue. You cannot wash it off. You cannot cure it. You just have to watch your tree suffer. That is why we must strike before the tree even wakes up. It is like washing your hands before a meal to prevent getting sick, rather than taking medicine after you already have a fever. We have to neutralize these invisible spores while they are still sleeping. Now we need to talk about the exact timing, because timing is everything here. You cannot just spray whenever you feel like it. The magic window happens in late winter or very early spring. We are looking for a specific phase called bud swell. This is when the buds start to look a little bit fat and fuzzy, but before any color shows. If you see pink petals peeking out, you must stop immediately. Imagine a tightly closed fist slowly starting to loosen its fingers. You must apply your treatment while the fist is still closed but just beginning to relax. If the hand is completely open, it is too late. There is another myth that a single spray in the dead of winter is always enough. While a midwinter spray helps, the most critical application is right at this bud swell stage. This is because the fungus becomes active just as the bud scales begin to loosen. By spraying exactly at this moment, you deliver the treatment exactly when the enemy is trying to sneak inside. But wait, we cannot just look at the buds. We also have to watch the thermometer. Temperature plays a massive role in whether your treatment will actually work or just make a mess. You need a day where the temperature is at least 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and it needs to stay above freezing for the next 24 hours. Why is this so important? Think about trying to paint the outside of a house in the freezing cold. The paint will clump up, freeze, and eventually peel right off. The fungicidal sprays act in the exact same way. If the liquid freezes on the branches before it has a chance to dry, it will not bond with the bark. The microscopic spores will survive. Furthermore, freezing liquid can actually damage the delicate bud tissue that is just starting to wake up. So you must be a weather watcher. You are looking for that perfect, mild, sunny afternoon in late winter. Patience is key here. Waiting for the right temperature ensures your hard work actually pays off. Let us talk about the weapon of choice for most gardeners. We are talking about copper fungicide. Copper is a naturally occurring element, but it is absolute poison to fungal spores. When you spray liquid copper onto the branches, it dries and leaves a microscopic shield. When it rains, tiny amounts of copper ions are released. These ions disrupt the enzymes inside the fungus. Think of it like sending thousands of tiny microscopic lightning bolts directly into the fungal cells, short-circuiting them before they can grow. There is a dangerous myth out there that more copper is always better. Some people mix it way too strong. This is a huge mistake. Over time, excess copper can build up in your soil and actually harm the beneficial worms and microbes. You must always follow the exact mixing ratios on the label. A light, even coating of the correct mixture is incredibly powerful. You do not need to turn your tree into a solid copper statue to get perfect results. Have you ever heard of the Bordeaux mixture? This is the classic old-school version of copper treatment, and it has a fascinating history. Back in the 19th century in the Bordeaux region of France, grape farmers had a problem. People walking down the road kept stealing their grapes. To stop the thieves, farmers mixed copper sulfate with lime and water and sprayed it on the vines closest to the road. It left a chalky, bitter blue residue that made the grapes look poisonous. But then they noticed something amazing. The vines with the blue spray were completely free of a deadly fungal disease that was ravaging the rest of the vineyards. By pure accident, they had invented one of the most effective fungicides in history. The addition of lime acts as a binder, helping the copper stick to the plant through heavy spring rains. Today, you can still buy Bordeaux mixture, or you can buy modern liquid copper soaps. Both work on the same brilliant accidental principle. While copper is fantastic, it is not the only option on the shelf. Let us discuss synthetic alternatives, specifically a chemical called chlorothalonil. This is a very common ingredient in commercial orchard sprays. Many professional growers prefer it because it provides a very tough, long-lasting barrier against peach leaf curl and does not build up in the soil like copper can. Comparing copper to a synthetic spray is like comparing a reliable traditional broom to a high-powered modern vacuum cleaner. Both will clean your floor, but they use different mechanisms. Some people swear by the synthetic route because they feel it sticks better during incredibly wet spring seasons. However, you must be very careful with it. It is stronger, and you must wear your protective gear. The choice between copper and synthetic usually comes down to your personal gardening philosophy. But remember, the fungus does not care what you use as long as you apply it thoroughly and at the exact right time. Now, we have talked a lot about fungus, but what about the bugs? This is where dormant horticultural oil comes into play. While you are spraying for disease, you also need to think about insects. Aphids, scale insects, and mites lay their eggs on the branches of your peach tree to survive the winter. Dormant oil is a highly refined mineral or plant oil. When you spray it on the tree, it coats these tiny eggs. It works by literally suffocating them. Imagine wrapping a tight plastic bag completely over the pest eggs so they cannot breathe. They simply never hatch. The beauty of dormant oil is that pests cannot build a chemical resistance to it, because it works physically, not chemically. Many gardeners actually mix their copper fungicide and their dormant oil together in the same tank to save time. It is a fantastic 1-2 punch. You knock out the disease with the copper, and you smother the hidden bugs with the oil, all in one simple afternoon. Before you even think about mixing your spray, you have to grab your pruning shears. Pruning before you spray is an absolutely critical step that many beginners skip. Why? Because a peach tree naturally grows a chaotic, dense mess of branches in the center. If you try to spray a tangled mess, the liquid will never reach the inner branches. You need to prune the tree into a wide open bowl shape. Remove any dead, diseased, or crossing branches. Think of it like trying to wash a tangled, knotted ball of yarn versus washing a neat, single thread. You need the spray to touch every single millimeter of bark. By opening up the center of the tree, you allow the spray nozzle to penetrate deeply. Plus, pruning actually removes a lot of the infected wood right off the bat. Less wood means less area for the fungus to hide, and less expensive spray you have to use. Never spray an unpruned tree. It is a waste of your time and your materials. Let us move on to orchard sanitation. This is the unglamorous secret of professional orchardists. After you prune, you must look at the ground. Are there dead leaves from last year lying around? Are there old, shriveled-up peaches still hanging on the branches or rotting in the grass? These are called mummies, and they are absolute biohazards. Leaving old leaves and mummies near your tree is like leaving a loaded weapon in your garden for the disease to use against you next year. The fungal spores and insect eggs will easily survive the winter inside that debris, and when the wind blows in the spring, they will fly right back up into your freshly sprayed tree. You must rake up every single leaf, pick up every fallen branch, and remove all the mummified fruit. Do not put them in your compost pile, throw them in the trash, or burn them if it is legal in your area. A clean orchard floor is half the battle won before you even start pumping your sprayer. Now we need to talk about the equipment. Having the right sprayer can make or break this entire operation. If you only have one small tree, a simple 2-gallon hand pump sprayer will work just fine. But if you have several large trees, you really need a backpack sprayer. The most important part of your equipment is actually the nozzle. A weak, sputtering spray is like using a tiny plastic water gun to put out a roaring house fire. It just will not work. You need a nozzle that produces a strong, fine, consistent mist. The mist allows the liquid to wrap around the branches and get into all the tiny bark fissures. Before you mix any chemicals, you should always test your sprayer with plain water. Pump it up to maximum pressure and make sure there are no leaks. Check the spray pattern against a dry piece of cardboard. If it is spitting large drops instead of a fine mist, you need to clean or replace the nozzle immediately. Mixing the spray is the next vital step, and safety is non-negotiable. You are dealing with concentrated elements, even if they are organic. You must wear protective gear. This means long sleeves, rubber gloves, and most importantly, safety goggles. There is a silly myth that organic sprays cannot hurt you. Try getting organic hot sauce in your eye and see how that feels. Copper and oil will severely irritate your eyes and skin. When you mix, always fill your sprayer half full with clean water first. Then add your copper and oil concentrates. Finally, top it off with the rest of the water. This ensures everything mixes evenly. Do not use freezing cold water straight from the hose if you can avoid it, as it makes the dormant oil harder to mix. Room temperature water works best. Give the tank a really good shake. You want it to look like a perfectly blended milkshake before you start spraying. Let us get into the actual technique of spraying, because how you spray is just as important as what you spray. You do not just wave the wand around randomly. You must be methodical. Always start at the very top of the tree and work your way down. You want to spray until the liquid is literally dripping off the branches. The professional term for this is spraying to the point of drip. Imagine your tree just stepped out of a heavy, torrential rain shower. Every single branch, twig, and trunk must be completely soaked. Pay special attention to the crotches of the branches where two limbs meet. These little pockets are luxury hotels for overwintering pests and fungal spores. If you miss just one small section of a branch, the fungus can survive there and spread to the rest of the tree once the weather warms up. Take your time. Walk in a complete circle around the tree to ensure you hit it from every possible angle. What happens if the weather turns against you? Weather delays are the biggest headache for fruit growers. Let us say you finally find a sunny day, you mix your spray, you cover the tree, and then 3 hours later, a massive rainstorm rolls in. I have terrible news for you. You just wasted your time. The rain will wash the protective coating right off the tree before it has a chance to fully dry and bond with the bark. You absolutely need 24 hours of dry weather after you spray. Spraying right before rain is like deciding to wash your car during a thunderstorm. It makes no sense. If you do get caught in a surprise rainstorm, you will have to wait for the tree to dry completely and do the entire process all over again. Always check the hourly weather forecast for the next 2 days before you begin. It is better to wait a week for a clear window than to rush and have your hard work washed into the dirt. I want to take a moment to address a very common organic gardening myth. Many well-meaning people think that growing organic peaches means letting nature take its course and doing absolutely nothing to the tree. They believe that spraying is unnatural. But here is the harsh truth. Nature is brutal. An unmanaged, unsprayed peach tree in the wild struggles to survive, produces tiny bitter fruit, and is often eaten alive by disease. Our modern sweet peaches are completely domesticated plants. They rely on us for protection. Organic gardening does not mean zero work. It just means using naturally derived tools instead of harsh synthetic chemicals. Copper fungicide and mineral oils are approved for organic gardening because they are earth-based materials. By stepping in and protecting the tree early in the spring, you are acting as the caretaker. You are giving the tree the strength it needs to produce the heavy, sugary fruit that nature alone could never achieve. Now, let us talk about the bees and other beneficial insects. This is exactly why we insist on doing this treatment before the blossoms open. Bees are the essential delivery drivers of your harvest. Without them moving pollen from flower to flower, you will get exactly 0 peaches. If you spray copper or oil while the pink flowers are open, you will poison the nectar and harm the bee colonies. It is like locking the doors to the delivery drivers, and then wondering why your package never arrived. By spraying during the dormant or pink bud stage, the chemicals dry and settle long before the flowers actually open and invite the bees in. Once the petals open, the treatment is locked onto the bark, and the flowers are completely safe for the pollinators. This is how we balance protecting the tree from disease while totally respecting the delicate ecosystem of the garden. Always respect the bloom, and never spray an open flower. Let us look closer at those tiny little bud scales again. If you examine a peach bud, you will notice it is quite fuzzy. This fuzz acts as a natural water repellent. Have you ever noticed how water beads up and rolls off a fuzzy leaf? This water tension makes it incredibly hard for your spray to actually penetrate the bud and reach the hidden spores. To solve this, professional growers use something called a spreader sticker, or a surfactant. This is an additive that breaks the surface tension of the water. Think of it like adding a drop of dish soap to a pan of greasy water. Suddenly, the water spreads out and covers everything flatly. Many commercial dormant oils already act as a natural surfactant, which is another reason why mixing oil and copper is such a great idea. It helps the copper stick flat against the fuzzy bud scales, ensuring there is absolutely nowhere for the leaf curl spores to hide. While we are heavily focused on peach leaf curl, this early spring treatment actually fights a secondary enemy called brown rot. Brown rot is that disgusting fuzzy mold that suddenly appears on your beautiful peaches right before you pick them. It breaks your heart. While brown rot ruins the fruit in the late summer, the infection actually starts way back in the spring. The spores wait for the blossoms to open and infect the tiny baby fruit. By applying a heavy copper spray before the tree blooms, you drastically reduce the overall number of brown rot spores resting in the orchard. It is just like sweeping the dusty floor before you start mopping. You are reducing the overall dirt load. While you may still need a light organic spray later in the summer to fully stop brown rot, hitting the tree hard in the late winter gives you a massive head start. It is a brilliant 2-for-1 defense strategy. We also need to look down at the main trunk and the lower branches. While you are spraying, you should be inspecting the bark. Are there globs of clear, jelly-like sap oozing out of the lower trunk? If so, you might have peach tree borers. These are nasty little grubs that chew tunnels right under the bark. The trunk is the main highway of the tree. It transports water and nutrients from the roots to the leaves. If borers chew through this highway, traffic stops entirely, and the tree dies very quickly. When you are applying your dormant oil spray, make sure you blast the lower trunk all the way down to the soil line. The oil will seep into the bark crevices and suffocate any borer eggs before they hatch. Many people only spray the top branches and completely forget the base of the tree. Do not make this mistake. Protect the foundation of your tree, or the top branches will not matter at all. It is also important to evaluate your tree's health based on last season to adjust your strategy. Did you have a terrible, horrible infection of leaf curl last year? If your tree was completely covered in red blisters, then a single spring spray might not be enough. The spore load is simply too high. In severe cases, you need to apply a fall spray right after the leaves drop in November, and then follow it up with our spring bud swell spray. Think of it like treating a minor cold versus a severe flu. A minor cold just needs some rest, which is your single spring spray. But a severe flu needs aggressive treatment, which means hitting the tree in the fall and the spring. Always let the tree's past performance dictate how aggressive you need to be. Keeping a simple garden journal where you write down how the leaves looked each summer will help you plan the perfect attack for the following winter. Finally, let us review the ultimate checklist for the day of spraying. Treat it like a rocket launch countdown. Everything must be perfectly aligned. First, check the wind. If the wind is blowing hard, the spray will blow right back into your face and completely miss the tree. You need a calm day. Second, mix a fresh batch. Never use leftover spray that has been sitting in your garage for 3 weeks. The chemicals break down and lose their power. Third, wear your safety goggles and gloves. Fourth, spray from the very top down to the dirt until the tree is dripping wet. And lastly, when you are finished, empty the tank and rinse your sprayer with clean water. If you leave copper and oil sitting in the pump, it will clog the nozzle and ruin the seals for next time. Follow this countdown precisely, and you will execute a perfect professional-grade treatment that will set your tree up for massive success. So, here is the ultimate plot twist in the story of growing perfect peaches. The harvest is not won in the long, hot days of summer. The battle is actually fought and won on a quiet, chilly afternoon in late winter, before a single leaf even exists. By understanding the hidden life cycle of the leaf curl fungus and hitting it with a precise mixture of copper and dormant oil exactly at the bud swell stage, you become the master of your orchard. You stop the disease completely dead in its tracks. We have covered the biology, the timing, the equipment, and the exact techniques you need to succeed. Thank you so much for watching and learning with us today. If you want to see more step-by-step orchard guides, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button. It really helps us out. Now, I have a question for you. What is the biggest challenge you have faced when trying to grow fruit trees in your own backyard? Drop your stories in the comments below and let us get a great discussion going.